I'm Maggie Sawant and I'm at the University of Bristol, one of 60 universities across the UK where staff and lecturers have started an 8-day strike against increasing workloads, cuts to pay, a gender pay gap and changes to their pensions, which means that union members will be paying in more and receiving less in their retirement. I'm going to speak to a few lecturers and a few staff and a few students to find out more about why they're striking and the impacts of the strike and what they hope for the future. I'm with Tamara, an academic in the Archaeology and Anthropology department, and Joseph from Professional Services. Why have you decided to strike today?
There are multiple reasons, primarily over pensions as much as anti-casualisation, and in fact you can see on the poster here what the 4 main causes are that we're protesting for.
Was it a difficult decision to choose to leave the students for the 8 days?
We have not left our students for the 8 days. It was not a difficult decision. This is a full, holistic life issue, not just for us but for our students as well, because this impacts on our students in terms of their own employability, their own opportunities when they're employees somewhere else, that they need to be able to know that they'll be able to work hard and be fairly rewarded, that they're not going to have temporary contracts, that they'll be able to have job security and pension security, and that someday they'll be able to retire too.
I'm with Louisa, a senior lecturer in the medical school. What's it been like working in these increasingly difficult conditions?
Well, it's incredibly varied depending on your department and where you're working at, but you do hear of people getting really burned out by increasing demands. You just feel a bit squeezed left, right and centre.
There's just not the support there to help you in just increasing pressure?
First of all, admin support has been cut and is continuously being cut. There's a lot of change coming all the time, and so you have to get to grips with new systems and new ways of doing things. And we're just being increasingly asked to teach more and more.
Hi, we're here with Ashley from the politics department, and we're basically asking how casualisation has affected academia.
Hi. So I was on casualised contracts for 2010, which meant for nearly a decade I had no idea where I was going to be working the next year, and it's really hard to live under those conditions. You can't do the research, you can't settle down, you can't plan for your future when you never know more than 10 months in advance if you're going to have to move, if you're going to have to leave, and having to compete against people who are my friends for the jobs that we had. It was really awful, and we only survived because of solidarity with each other in the departments.
And how do you think it's changed since 2010 then? Are you still struggling with this issue?
We've made some changes in our department, but we need to make more. We can't stop this fight until everyone has secure contracts and has the capacity to work and to live.
Yeah. And do you think the university is doing enough for this issue?
They need to do more. We need to keep having this fight. We need to make sure all members of staff are protected, that all our rights are acknowledged.
So did you.
Hi, we're here with Carla Denyer, for the Green Party candidate for Bristol West. We wanted to know today, will the Green Party help and aid lecturers and the University of Bristol?
Well, the Green Party has long been against the trend towards privatisation and commercialisation of higher education. We've always been against tuition fees. We would abolish them and also write off the debt for all students under the 9K scheme. And we support all of the demands that the UCU strikers are making today, especially around casualisation of staff, which I think is really, really bad news for university staff, because it means they have no security of tenure, and it can be really hard to build a life in the city when you don't know if you're going to have a job here for more than a few months.
In your opinion, do you think the university is doing enough for these causes?
Well, I've been speaking to staff that are striking today. I've spent the morning going around the picket lines, and they're telling me that, to be fair, University of Bristol is trying. They are listening. Various senior staff have been coming around to the pickets this morning listening, and so most of the people striking today have said, to be fair, University of Bristol isn't doing too bad, but we need change on a national level, not just individual universities, and they're not seeing enough progress on that level yet, and so the strike's continuing.
How bad are the conditions working at the moment? How badly does it affect students' learning?
So So far, I think in the last 10 years, the inflation rate has gone much higher than our salary increase, about 18%, I think. Today, I think strikes will make a difference, and you'll see how many students hopefully will complain to the Vice Chancellor about lectures being disrupted and practicals and all teaching activities.
What are the working conditions like?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you're talking about, but I think one thing we can say for sure that we've seen is a continual increase in our workloads without any kind of compensatory mechanisms. What we've had, in effect, is a real terms pay decrease because we've not had a cost of living pay increase in line with inflation for many, many, many years. But at the same time, our student numbers are increasing. We're asked to answer to more metrics like the REF, the TEF, now possibly the CAF. We have more and more evaluations and administrative forms and things that we're supposed to do. We're constantly being told to do more, do more, do more, but do everything perfectly, be excellent and world-leading in everything you do, but with absolutely no give, with absolutely no kind of recompense for that. And the real truth is that we're also seeing an increased use of casualized and precarious workers to make up for these enormous workloads and carry the burden of teaching. And these are people who aren't even paid fairly for the amount of prep they do. You know, in my personal department, for a 1-hour tutorial, you might get an hour's prep. In that time, you're supposed to read all of the material, plan a lesson, answer all the emails from students, deal with pastoral inquiries. We have a mental health crisis on the part of our students. Frontline staff are the ones who deal with this. We have a wonderful senior tutor, but we only have 2 for 1,000 students in my school. So it's frontline staff who deal with a lot of this. We don't have training. It's becoming worse and worse. And it's serious, right? This is a serious thing that we take seriously. We know that people's lives are at stake here, but there's been no kind of sense that we deserve anything for this. Our jobs just keep getting busier and busier and harder and more stressful with little to no recognition of the actual human toll. Instead, we get new buildings. Instead, we're told about capital investment projects, but then we're told, oh, well, we can't take people off of casualized contracts. We don't have the money. Oh, we can't give you an inflationary pay rise. We don't have the money. And I just don't think it's true.
How do you feel about the commercialization of education?
It's a huge problem. Education is not a commodity. Students are not customers. Academics and professional service staff are not service givers. We are colleagues and comrades working together in the shared project of knowledge creation. Education is about knowledge creation. It's about critical thinking. It's about becoming the kind of person that you want to be living in this world, who's going to be leading tomorrow. It's something that we're all working on. It's a shared project. It's not something you could put a price tag on. And I think this whole idea of, well, students pay X, therefore we should measure how much money they make after 6 months, and that tells us that they got value for money, is ridiculous, because knowledge is about so much more than that. And I think the commercialization of education has been a craven attempt to turn students against staff, but we're not against each other, as we can see. We're in this together.
I'm with Emily and Becca. Why have you decided to not enter any university buildings?
Because we think it's really important to be in solidarity with the staff and everyone who's striking, because obviously, like, it's not just lecturers, but lecturers are also getting hit really hard by, like, pension cuts and all of this really bad stuff that's happening when the university puts profit over people. So yeah, we're just like standing in solidarity with them, and also because like it's not just a them problem, everyone's affected, especially like, you know, obviously it's the staff who are affected most, but it's also students who are really affected as well. So yeah, we're all in this together, and like it's important to be united.
Hi, we're here with Rohan Highland from the Digital Education Office. We're wondering today, if you had one message to Hugh Brady, what would you say?
I'd say it's just listen to the staff and the students who are all here today in huge numbers, saying that we really need movement on this. We've did this protest previously already, and I think we sent a very clear message then, and we had very clear action that we could take, which was to appoint for the, at least for the, in terms of the pensions, appoint a independent panel. That independent panel met, they made a recommendation, and now we're just saying we need to implement that recommendation, and it hasn't happened, and so we just need to see action on that and on the other issues we're raising today, because there are 4 issues. We need to see action from the senior management and from the people that they can influence in getting this very simple recommendations put in place.
We are the university. Staff and students, people make university, so trust in people and treat us right so we can do our jobs.
I think it might be to reflect on the value for money provided by their enormous salary packets in relation to the type of salaries that are on offer to casualised workers who are on hourly paid contracts or fractional short-term contracts who are unable therefore to provide, you know, the kind of quality that they would like to. And I think he should reflect on how he can support our school managements in eradicating casualised contracts, because that's the best way that you can improve what happens here and make sure that students who are paying for their education get what they deserve, and teachers and staff together can get themselves into a position where they can be secure and have a good quality of life while they do it, which is no less than they deserve.
I would encourage you to come back to the negotiating table and discuss with us how he's going to bring about a fair pay deal, a fair pension deal, and to reduce casualisation within the university.
Are you yourself under a 0 hours contract?
I'm not. I'm on a contract until the end of March, but I've just got a 2-year fellowship. I do work with people on 0 hour contracts and fixed term teaching contracts, so I'm more striking for them than for myself.
I'm with Hugh Brady, the Vice Chancellor of the university. How do you feel about the strikes today?
So I'm saddened that we are having a strike. I kind of fully respect the staff's right to go on strike, and this isn't something that it's not a decision they take lightly. I think we're aligned on many of the issues. So gender pay gap we're working together on. It's a huge issue, and nationally we're making progress where others are finding it difficult. Casualisation, again, something that we both ourselves and the union take very seriously. Workload, everybody's working harder, and some really good suggestions even around the picket lines today as to how we can lighten that load wherever possible. The issues around pay and pensions are complicated because they're national issues, but we are certainly advocating that there should be a multi-annual pay deal for staff across the sector. It should be inflation linked, and we said that we're willing to do more for our staff. I mean, we're on the record last summer as having said that. The pension issue, as you know, is complicated. My personal view is that we should wait until the joint expert panel, which is a group of experts that was agreed by the unions and the universities. That'll report before Christmas, and hopefully they'll provide us with the roadmap.
Thank you so much. Should students feel comfortable crossing the picket line?
I would hope so. I mean, I've now been around maybe 10 or 15 of the picket lines this morning. Staff passionate about the issues, but also very good-natured, and I would absolutely urge students to attend their lectures, their seminars in the normal way.
Thank you so much. And how will the university feel about a second strike, possibly next term? The union haven't ruled out another strike. Well,
it would be regrettable, so I really urge the central bodies, which is UCU Central, and for pay, UCIA, and pensions, it's the USS and UUK. I'd urge them to get together as quickly as possible to try and find a solution so it doesn't come to that.
De los cuatro que vinieron, ni siquiera yo.